it's James here from guitarist.com, and in today's lesson we're going to learn how to play Fortunate Son by CCR. We're going to learn the main riff, the rhythm parts, we're going to talk a little bit about gear and getting the right sound. If along the way you find that you need any extra help, I have a worksheet on my Patreon page that has all the parts laid out, and it's not just like a tab, it also has the rhythm and everything that you need to be able to successfully play this and put it all together. So that's available on my Patreon page. I also have an ebook for lead guitar that is completely free, so you should definitely get that. It'll go over all the fundamentals of lead guitar. Whether you're playing electric or acoustic, it applies to everything. And there's also a lead guitar course coming out. It's not out as of this moment, but there might be a link down below for that too. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Otherwise, we're going to get started with the main riff. So we can take our middle finger, put it on the 9th fret of the D string, and then our first finger, we're going to skip a string, we're going to go to the B string at the 8th fret. We pluck the bottom note and then the top note. Then we go down 2 frets and we do the same thing. So here we're on the 7th fret and the 6th fret and we go. So just try that part, going 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4. So we play the notes on 1 and, so just give that a quick try, and then we can move on and learn the next part of the riff. We're going to go all the way to the 3rd fret with our first finger, and we're on the D string still. And here we're going to do a quick hammer from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret. And if that's too much for you, you can always just play the 5th fret with your ring finger. That's totally fine too, but it's nice to go like that with a hammer on. And then we play the open E string. So 3, 4, 1 and. So that hammer, that takes up beat 1, and then the open string is and. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. And then we do the same hammer, but this time we put our first finger on the 3rd fret of the B string and we pluck that note. So 2, 3, 4. And we want to hold this note during both of those. So practice that half, just going 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, or without the hammer, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4. Now the very last part, we're going to go to the 1st fret of the A string. We're going to give it a slight bend, and it's kind of hard to bend the strings right near the edge. In the middle, there's way less tension, but near the edges, that's where the strings have the most tension, right? So that little bend does make it sound more like the original recording, but it's optional. We just get that, and then we play the 3rd fret of the thickest string. And this is a super common blues thing. So it's good to practice either way, and you could just go without the little bend. And we got to fit this bend in right after this one. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And I want you to practice that by itself as well. So go through that, practice each part of this lick by itself, and then we can glue it together nice and slow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now there's a couple finishing touches we can add. For the very first note, instead of just starting on the 9th fret, we can put our middle finger on the 7th fret and we can slide into the 9th fret. So 1 and 2, 3, 4, just like that. And then we can do the same thing for the next one. So instead of putting our middle finger on the 7th fret, we'll start on the 5th fret and then slide into that one. So try that for the first couple notes. 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. So that's the main riff. Now we're going to learn the verse. And this is simple. It's just some chords and strumming. It goes like this. And you might be thinking like, oh, bar chords, you know, and you wouldn't be wrong. That does use bar chords, but we can do it in a simpler way that will help prepare you. So you'll be able to play it in a simple way and it'll work towards being able to play the bar chords, you know, so it's the best of both worlds. We're going to start off by putting our index finger on the 3rd fret of the thickest string. Then we're going to put our ring finger on the 5th fret of the next string. And you might have to readjust, pull your elbow in, get your wrist forward, you know, do what it takes to get this comfortable. And we could just play that. You know, the rhythm would go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So beat 1 and then some ands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it's all downstrokes. But if you're a little more adventurous, we could add our pinky finger underneath our ring finger. And we could add our middle finger right there on the 4th fret of the G string. And then we could press down our 1st finger to complete the bar shape. We're not even really playing the whole bar. We're just playing the lower part either way. So if you're just playing the thicker strings and not pressing the rest of it, it'll pretty much sound the same anyways. I just think that as you progress with guitar, it is beneficial to be holding down the whole shape, because that way if you accidentally hit one of those strings, or if you want to beef it up a little bit for a later chorus, it's totally available to you. Either way, whether you're using the simplified shape or if you're using the full bar shape, first we go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we move our entire shape so that our 1st finger is on the 1st fret. We do the same rhythm, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If you're having trouble with that rhythm, I want you to mute the strings and count out loud and do downstrokes as you go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just like that, just counting out loud. And then I want you to just go 1 and keep moving your hand in the air. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you can slow it down as slow as you need to go. The whole point is that you're counting out loud and your arm is consistently moving down with the beat, even when you're missing the strings. Either way, those are our first 2 shapes. And then from there, we're going to change shapes. Our 1st finger is going to go to the 3rd fret of the A string. So that's the note C. You know, your C chord starts on that note. And we're going to make the same kind of shape with our ring finger. So we're playing the 5th fret. This is just like the first shape we started off with, except we moved it over that way. And when you're doing this, you want your index finger to be resting underneath that string to mute it. And that's the simple way to do it, and it sounds great. Or we can flatten this finger and play the bar chord. And this is one of the tougher ones, but once again, it's something that you get used to if you try it just a little bit. You know, don't go until it hurts, but just try a little bit, see what it sounds like, you know, try it every day, and eventually it might work out. I have a course, Bar Chords Made Easy, that's designed to take you through that entire process and, you know, make bar chords seem easy, because it is all technique more than it is strength. A lot of people think their fingers are too small or they're too weak, but if you apply pressure in the right spots, it's actually quite simple. It just takes a little bit of, you just got to work on it a bit. Either way, that's our final shape. And then we go back to our first shape. And that's our chord progression. So G, F, C, G. Now, before we play this together, one final touch, as far as the rhythm's concerned, is to let go of the shape between the strokes. So 1 and then I'm letting the pressure off the shape. 1, 1, and release. And then I'm just doing short ones. 1 and. And that makes it sound a little more punchy. Either way, we'll play it together now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Cool. Next we're going to learn the chorus, and it's the same rhythm, same shapes, but there's a couple slight differences. So we start off in the same place, and then we're going to go do the same shape we did for C, whether you're doing the simple one or the bar, and we're going to move it up 2 frets, and this is D. And then we go to C, and back to G. So basically, instead of playing F, we're playing D. The rest of it's identical. So G, D, C, G. And I recommend taking a minute to work the switch from G to D. If you're doing the simple shape like that, you know, just go back and forth, downstroke only, just silently, or slowly, I mean, taking your time. And we can use the exact same rhythm as the verse, or we can add a couple strokes at the end and go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that just, you know, beefs it up a little bit, makes it a little more active for the chorus. You can see the strokes right there. Just take your time counting it out. It's all downstrokes. When you're ready, we can add that to our progression. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Great, so that's the majority of the tune. The only part we have left is the breakdown. It goes like this. And once again, that's based off of an interval, in this case, the third. So we'll put our middle finger on the 7th fret of the G string and our first finger on the 6th fret of the B string, right beside it. We pluck those 2 strings. I like to put my ring finger resting underneath the high E string. That way, if I accidentally get it, it's not going to make any sound. And we can just play it, or we can slide into it from 1 fret below, going just a quick slide. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we go 1 fret lower, same shape, 2, 3. And then we pluck this shape again, and we slide down till our first finger's at the 1st fret. So let's just try that slide. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And then finally, we pluck this one and we slide up 2 frets till our first finger's on the 3rd string. So. And the rhythm for that slide is 1 and. So you pluck on 1 and then you slide on and. So all in all, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So those are all the parts of the song, and before we put it all together, let's take a moment to talk about tone. Now, I am using Les Paul through a Fender Deluxe, And I just have the amp cranked, and it's behind me, but I have a load box, so it goes directly to my computer without being super loud in the room. But I have the amp set to like ear bleeding volume, and it naturally breaks up when you do that, and it sounds great. I think that's the simplest way to get a good tone for this song. But basically, you would want to have a little bit of grit. You know, whether you have like a budget modeling amplifier or a simpler setup, you want to have some sort of gain, whether it's on a pedal or on the, you know, one of the knobs on your amplifier. And you don't want too much. You know, you don't want to oversaturate your sound. You'll probably want to use your humbucker pickup to make it really punchy and a bit thinner. You know, whatever's in the bridge. If you just have single coils, that's fine too. And that's all there is to it. You know, there's not too much in terms of effects or anything. John Fogerty, he would use a custom 200 amp, which is, a lot of people aren't that happy with his tone because it's a solid state amplifier, and everybody's all about tube amps and they always rip on solid state amps. But I don't know, it worked for him. If you look on reverb.com, his amp costs like $7,000 because it is quite rare these days. But essentially, he was one of the early users of a solid state amp, and he used a Rickenbacker 6-string with a humbucker. Like, he modified it and put a humbucker in the bridge. I'm not sure what type it was, but when I watch concert footage, that's what I see. And yeah, that's how he would have achieved that sound. It's also important to note that he would play in open D tuning. So he would actually tune his guitar to like a slide guitar tuning. And obviously I didn't want to do that for this lesson because we'd spend half our time tuning our guitar, and then you want to go play a different song and you got to tune your guitar back. So we learned it in standard tuning. But if you really want to go the extra mile, like if you're going to play in a CCR tribute band someday, you would want to look into playing the CCR repertoire in open D tuning, and that would definitely help with getting the exact sound. Anyways, with that out of the way, we're gonna practice this entire thing nice and slow, starting with the intro. I'm gonna turn on my metronome and we're gonna play at a nice steady tempo. Intro, verse, chorus, and then the bridge, just like it is in the song. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Chorus. Alright, so that's how you play Fortunate Son by CCR. Don't forget, if you need any extra help, there's that worksheet on my Patreon page that has all these parts written out with all the timing underneath, all the strokes, you know, all the stuff that you need to figure this thing out. There's my lead ebook, which is completely free for all my subscribers. There's a link for that down below. Also down below, depending on how far in the future this is, you might find a link to my lead course, which I'm currently working on. You know, please check that out. Either way, have a fun time practicing, and I'll see you soon.